Today, we're going to talk about John Mortar, a veteran intelligence analyst, and his decade-long fight against the very system he was sworn to serve. It's a story that starts in a small, quiet, windowless room with a machine that would upend his entire life. So let's picture this room. No windows, no distractions. It's this, clinical, quiet space that's designed for just one thing, to get to the truth. This is the kind of environment where a career can hang in the balance, and you can just feel the pressure the second you walk through the door. And when you look at this, you really get a sense of how physically invasive this whole process is. I mean, this is not just a conversation. It's practically a medical procedure. Mortar is literally hooked up to the machine. Every single breath, every heartbeat, every bead of sweat, it's all being monitored, measured, and ultimately judged.
So who is this man in the chair? Well, that's crucial to understand because we're not just talking about anyone here. This is a highly trusted professional, a decorated analyst, facing a moment that is going to define the entire rest of his career.
John Mortar had dedicated his life to national security. He was a civilian analyst working with U.S. Special Operations Command, doing incredibly detailed work, creating 3D visualizations for mission planning. I mean, this was high stakes, absolutely essential work, and he was a really respected part of that team. Now, on paper, the polygraph has a pretty clear purpose, right? It's a standard counterintelligence screening. The machine is looking for how your body reacts to questions about spying or leaking secrets. But here's the catch, and this is so important. Any unusual spike, for any reason, can be flagged as potential deception. And as the hours went on, the whole dynamic in the room started to change. The examiner began hinting that the machine was picking something up. The questions got repeated, rephrased. Mortar says it stopped feeling like a test and started feeling like an interrogation, where he felt totally trapped and accused, and his own body's reactions were being used as evidence against him. And this brings us right to the absolute core of this entire story, this battle between the cold, supposedly impartial machine and the messy, complex reality of human psychology. This right here explains the fundamental problem with the polygraph. It doesn't have a lie detector light that magically flashes green or red. Nope. It's a stress detector. It measures your heart rate, your breathing, your sweat. It has absolutely no way of telling the difference between the stress of lying and, say, the stress of being terrified that you're about to fail a test that controls your entire future. So, this is the key concept, anticipatory anxiety. For Mortar, who had a diagnosed anxiety disorder, just the intense worry before the test even got going was enough to trigger the very responses the machine was looking for. His body was already in panic mode, reacting to the fear of the test itself. I mean, his own doctor didn't mince words. He called the whole experience an inescapable and unavoidable stressor. It wasn't just a test. For Mortar, it was a traumatic event. And it created this vicious cycle. The more tests he had to take, the more anxiety he felt, and the more his body reacted in ways the machine would flag as suspicious. So, what were the real-world consequences of this psychological trap? Well, an inconclusive test result wasn't just a bad day at the office. For John Mortar, it was the beginning of a catastrophic downward spiral for his career.
Just look at this timeline. Over 3 years, his situation just got worse and worse. He goes through 5 different exams, and the results are all over the place. No opinion, then significant response. Then, right in the middle of it all in 2013, he's removed from his post. Can you even imagine going into that 5th test, knowing your entire career is hanging by a thread? The pressure must have been just unimaginable.
And here's the craziest part of all. Mortar never lost his top secret clearance. No one ever found any wrongdoing. But because leadership at the command lost confidence in him, he was out. His access was revoked, his reputation was destroyed, and his career at this elite command was just over. Now, this is where the story pivots from one man's struggle to a much bigger question about the system itself. Because you see, there are rules in place that are supposed to prevent exactly this kind of thing from happening. The Department of Defense has its own regulations that are meant to be safeguards. They say that testing should be postponed for documented medical issues, that employees can even be exempted, and, maybe most importantly, that the test results alone should not be the only reason for taking punitive action. These are the rules. But according to Mortar, that's precisely what didn't happen. He told his superiors about his diagnosed anxiety disorder, yet the testing just kept going. And he argues the inconclusive results were the sole justification for his removal, a direct contradiction of the DoD's own safeguards.
So what do you do when you believe the system has failed you so completely? Well, for Mortar, it meant starting a decade-long legal battle to find some kind of accountability. And that journey, as it turned out, was just as frustrating as the polygraph tests themselves. So the legal fight really boiled down to two completely different stories. On one side, you have Mortar arguing, "You discriminated against me because of my disability, and you didn't accommodate it." And on the other side, the agency is basically saying, "Nope, this was about security, our leadership lost confidence, and that's our call to make." He filed his first complaint way back in 2014, and for years, the case just wound its way through the system. At one point, an appellate office even said that key questions hadn't been fully resolved. But in the end, Mortar never got the full hearing he was fighting for. The Supreme Court decided not to review the case, and his legal options just ran out. And all of this leaves us with a really deeply unsettling question, doesn't it? The whole security screening system is designed to protect us, to protect national security. But what happens when the very mechanics of that system turn against a decorated employee and all the safeguards that are supposed to be there just fail? Ultimately, for John Mortar, there is no real resolution. The core questions that his case raised were never fully answered by the system. And so the story ends exactly where it began, back in that quiet, windowless room with a man, a machine, and a career that just came to an end